Welcome, everybody, back to the Soulganize Your Life podcast. And I know that the more that I'm Soulganizing my own life, the more I'm enjoying being a human. And as a psychotherapist, I recognize that we are definitely the outer circumstances of life sort of impact us in two different ways. One is through the traditional psychological ego, which is sort of a separate sense of self. And then there's a divine soul connection to all that is also available for us to be impacted by the outer circumstances of our life. So what did we want to do on this podcast? Well, that's where our guests come in. They're here to help us relate to this inner conflict. And Missy, who's on the call today, is directly having this inner conflict in the last couple of months. So it'll be fun to talk to her. And she's going to give us some of her own ideas as just a newbie to this whole spiritual awakening, how to integrate these two perspectives into one full, beautiful, messy human experience. We were talking a little bit before we hit record, and it was exciting because she had said, when you reached out to me at first, I was not in this space. And then once she told the universe she was going to come on a podcast that she had no idea what she's going to talk about, her life exploded. So, yeah. So she's going to tell you her sort of before and after story. And welcome, Missy Paul.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful to be here. Like we were talking about, I feel like this is one of those things that's just divine connection that when, again, like you were saying, when you reached out to me initially, I was like, okay, I don't know. I'm in this yes phase, so let's just go for it. But still kind of thinking I might chicken out. And then here we are 5 weeks, 6 weeks later, and you're not going to shut me up. So, Good. Let's go.
Yeah. So you're probably going to have a really distinct understanding right now of the ego and the soul. A lot of times people that I talk to are well on their healing path and they've been healers for a long time. So they really forget. They're like, I don't remember what life was like, when I was full blown in my ego, and so it'll be great to hear your version of like what it was like and then what awoke you, right? What, hit you over the head. So what was life like when you were more in your ego than you are now?
Yeah. So, just to give our folks, a little bit of context of kind of like then and now, and then I'll fill in the blanks in the middle. So I'm considering myself transitioning into my pre-tired space of being in talent acquisition and leadership in that regard. I've done career strategy coaching, resume writing. So I've really been in that career space for over a decade now. And of course, there were certain things that I really did love about that space. But looking back as well, I think a lot of my decisions to stay in that space were ego driven, although didn't realize it at the time. It's hindsight 2020, right? So now I'm in this transition, and like we were talking about before we came on, I think a lot of people are currently in this space where we're kind of taking a leap, right? Taking a leap of faith into really evaluating, is this where I want to stay? Is this what I want to continue doing? Or is there something else, which is where the soul comes in, right? Is there something else that's really maybe buried in me that at one point I realized was there? Maybe I haven't even explored yet. And so that's truly in the last 6 months, that's the space that I've been living in, is really like digging deep for that space.
Yeah, I would say I like when you said buried, because that's how I think of the ego, right? It's like you're born this beautiful soul and the ego just piles on you like a bunch of football players. It's like, I know it's down there somewhere, and you don't really have an inkling of it until maybe a couple of players get off and then you see, oh, there it is. There's the foot sticking out. And then you keep going and keep going. And then something maybe more, impactful happens where you're like, okay, I can't stop. I can't ignore this anymore.
Yes.
Right. So how did you build an ego, right, into becoming career driven, career coaching? What were you taught? What was your conditioning?
Yeah. So really my upbringing, I do feel actually very grateful as far as my family dynamic goes. I was raised in kind of this interesting pocket that I would say kind of encompassed both maybe ego and soul. There was actually quite a nice little balance there. My family was very supportive. I'm a very creative person. I'm a musician. I love art. Like, I did a lot of theater. So my family was very supportive in me being very expressive. I feel like some of those other external social constructs came into play probably senior year of high school. That's when it started to feel like the environment that I was raised in, as far as school and moving forward in your life is, and even junior year really, is you're going to college, right? Like, there's no choice. And I feel like I've talked to a lot of people that feel this way. So there's no choice, whether you know what you want to do or not, whether you know that this is going to serve you in the long run or not, to bring my husband into this, but my husband should be a doctor for how long he was in college. He is not. He has his bachelor's. And that was a huge win for him because he was not designed for that. That was probably not like the perfect path for him. And so that stressor of this is what you're doing, because in your life to be successful, you need a certain title, you need to make a certain amount of money, you need to be, at a certain like status in the social org, that sort of thing. So in my mind, there was a lot of those pressures to do that. So, I mean, that's what I did, because what else was I going to do?
But you were saying that you had a real, I would say creativity is the soul, right? Because the soul creates and the ego breaks down things, right? So if I heard someone use the analogy, it's really easy to walk over and knock down somebody's blocks, when they're playing. But the soul will sit there and try to create something. And that's difficult. That takes time. That takes patience and accessing a level of creativity. And that's sounds like you had both experiences, and that you were both lovely. You maybe didn't know it was the ego and the soul, or call it that, but you did have access to both the trained, conditioned mind that you were given about college. And then but I also played the drums. I lost myself in creativity. And that's something you can't unknow, right? You've anchored that. Yeah. So then you went on to becoming successful. You have MBA next to your name. You got a master's in business.
Right. So so made it on the Hot Mess Express train somehow through college. And that was a win. And then still coming out, not exactly sure, quite honestly, like what my path was, but I almost sort of just fell into recruiting, and great fit for me in a lot of ways. So just also there was that pressure of all my other friends. I was bartending at the time. And all my other friends have gotten like their big people jobs, their 9-to-5s, and I'm over here slinging drinks, which I loved as well. And I was like, oh gosh, I better get on the train, because this is what you do. And also I have to mention, I had this very specific life plan. And I know there's other people out there. I know younger people that are doing it right now that I've talked to. Graduate. I was 21 when I graduated college. I was going to get a job in radio. Okay. Immediately out of college. That was my dream. Going to do that. I'm going to get married at 25. I'm going to pop out a kid at 27. I'm going to pop out a kid at 29. That was it. And then I was going to have this really successful career in radio and like be married with kids. And like, let me tell you, none of that happened. Not a single bullet on that list occurred in that order.
Yeah.
Or ever. Like some of them just like never even occurred. Most of them actually never even occurred. So really when we're talking about kind of like a reevaluation, right? Like I got into this career, I climbed ladders. Like you said, I got my MBA, did all these things, and you know, climb, promotion. That's like, that was the goal, right? Money, title, all of the things. At 28, I was coming out of a very tumultuous long-term relationship. We did not get married, which was probably for the best, but relocated, changed jobs, like all of the big life changes like that someone can go through were happening to me then. And that's when I really started reassessing, like, you know, here I am at 28 and these like life bullets didn't pan out. Am I even happy? Like, what am I even doing right now? You know, oh my gosh, I moved out, got an apartment, had no furniture. I left everything, right? I'm sleeping on an air mattress, which I had my brother-in-law come blow up because I felt so helpless. It was an interesting time. So really, I rediscovered music. That's the long and short of it. I was like, I need to do something to realign myself at this moment. So I started singing in a band. I'm actually still in that band. I've been in the band
for fun.
years. Yeah. And that I really think was the beginning of the rediscovery, right? Of like the burial, like what's buried underneath. Like it was the first step for me.
So you're still working. You're still mostly in the ego mindset, right? Of like still climbing things, but you realize like without any balance whatsoever, it's not going to go well, right? I need to go back to music and the thing that touches my soul. And so you started doing it, and it somehow helped you let go of that plan, right? That hilarious egoic plan.
Ego plan. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is hilarious. I really thought this was going to happen because I told the universe what was going to happen. My preferences should be, you know, honored. And that's the ego, right? It just tells the universe, well, this is what it is. And the universe is like, well, okay. Good luck with that.
And what's so interesting is also, it wasn't even necessarily that I wanted any of those things.
No, you were trained to want those things.
It was truly conditioned to be like, you get married, you buy a house, you have kids, right? Like check. Now I'm successful. Now I'm happy. And now I'm all these things. When for most people, at least that I know in my life, like that is not what creates fulfillment. You know,
and then you don't know,
but
but then you don't know. That's right. That's why I want to have the podcast, is to let people know, like, okay, so there is a difference, and like, what does the bridge look like, right? Because now I don't know. I know I'm not just an ego, but I also don't know remotely who to trust to help me build this new identity or this new way, because of the first conditioned response that I had didn't work out. So why would I want to go have someone else condition me again in some other form, which is scary. That's the thing about when you get in touch with your soul, there's a level of trust that must be created. You called it a leap of faith, right? It's like, okay, so nobody around me knows, which means I have to go inward.
Yes.
Yeah. And so how did that journey start for you?
So really, I feel like recently, to be honest, the biggest kind of jolt for me has been within the last 6 to 8 months. I feel like there have been like glimmers of it. I feel like I've kind of been chomping at the soul bit like for years. Like, you know, I rediscovered music. I brought that in my life. Great. I became very unhappy in a job situation. I changed it, which was massive because change is scary, very scary for most people. And I had never, at that point, I left a job without a job. And to be honest, I actually was thinking that would be my bigger kind of, if we're sticking with the leap of faith, I thought that was going to be my leap of faith to pivot careers, because I actually had gone back to school for massage therapy. I graduated and became licensed in 2016. And the universe plays funny games like that, where while I was in school, I 100% thought I was making that change then. And I was presented an opportunity for a career change that I fell in love with. So then massage kind of, took the back seat, but that was fine because I was like, yeah, I love this. We're going to do it. So I'm like jumping, but basically here and there, taking these leaps, being really proud and realizing that once you get on the change train, the more you do it, the less scary it becomes. Yeah. So, once I did that and I realized actually it was leading me to things that felt better for me, it became almost, I don't want to say exciting, but kind of, I mean, if it feels right? Like if it feels in, and I'm exploring trusting my intuition. That's a big thing for me right now, is trusting my mantra every day. My daily intention is relax and trust, because we want control. I want control. I want control over all the things. That's
the ego wants control.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. The ego wants the control. And I'm just in this relax and trust phase. And, also just looking for those small signs that are coming from the universe to say, okay, let's try that. Let's see how that fits. So really I was laid off. The big jolt. This is the big jolt.
Yes.
I was laid off, right? I was laid off in August, this past August, 2024. I see it as a true blessing because it really felt like divine intervention, being like, this is it, Missy. This is the one, like this is the one where you need to really take this time. And I'm giving it to you. Like I'm giving you this moment. So I could talk about, my kind of like spiritual awakening, that whole journey. That's another podcast. Like that is a whole other podcast. I did not see this stuff coming, but I have been going to this yoga studio for years, and sometimes they offer Reiki certifications. I have been interested in that for quite some time, but of course the ego is, you don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. That's not important. That's not a priority. It doesn't matter, because you need to work 10 to 12 hours a day. That's the goal. When I got laid off, I saw the owner of the yoga studio the very next day, and I don't run into her that often. And I said, do you have one of those Reiki certifications coming up? And she said, yes, this coming weekend. Done. Oh, nice. Boom, boom. And I was like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. And ever since then, my life has changed. It has, my mindset, for lack of a better, like the way I'm following my intuition, just opening up to, like listening to my soul and kind of quieting the mind, quieting the ego, right? And being like, okay, just this one step at a time, like every day, relax and trust.
And it's hard to quiet the ego, which is why, it's interesting that you say the words relax and trust, because those are two things the ego can't do.
Yeah.
Right. The ego is a vigilant surveyor of where's the threats, where's the, where's my next meal, where's the next thing. And so to intentionally say those words is a great first step for anybody, right? Who is in this flux space, as you called it earlier. And, if you just had the intention to relax and trust, then, that's not my ego talking.
Exactly.
And then the ego will come right back and just be like super loud. But, the more, like you said, if I'm intentionally looking for little signs for myself that outwardly nobody else is going to see, it just, life feels better. It just really feels more fun. It's interesting. You can't plan. So we think we can, but we can't. So the fact that we can't plan, when you first realize that sounds scary, but then after that, you're like, well, if I can't plan and things have been going okay, maybe the universe really does have my back, and I'm going to start trusting it. And that's what you did. And now you've taken Reiki training. And how has that moved you into what you want to do next?
Yeah. So, it took months to, it's taken months. I'm here now to kind of get to this sort of, I'm pretty tired. I do not want to go back to, the same type of jobs that I've been doing, maybe in the corporate America setting. And I really want to trust in myself, to take this leap. I have my license in massage therapy, Reiki. I 100% see how those things go hand in hand with one another.
Literally. Literally hand in hand.
Oh, literally. Yes. Yes. And I have just been, really immersing myself. I took Reiki 1 in September. I took Reiki 2 in November. And I feel like it has slowed me down in a lot of ways, and really just led me to this space of exploration, allowing myself, I call it my listening phase. So I feel like I'm coming out of it now because I'm putting more things into action, but a lot of meditation, a lot of intention, a lot of, like I said, I've been looking for these signs. And there have been certain things that come up for me over and over again during certain periods of time. And so it's more, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean to me? What does that mean for my journey? And, I love to learn. I love learning. And so it's getting back in touch with that piece of myself as well, of, what do I want to learn? What, and how will this kind of take part in this transition for me? And I've had so many more creative ideas come to me, and just faith in myself. And, there's the attraction, right? Like seeks out like, or, and I feel like that's happening now, where opportunities, I almost have a good problem of, opportunities presenting themselves to me that now I have decisions to make, on, do I want to work with this particular partner? Do I want to just go out on my own? Do I want, those types of things? Yeah. So I feel like I'm attracting those things by taking the time to immerse myself in them, but doing the self-work. I was telling someone the other day, because she was like, I had no idea you were even a licensed massage therapist. What else are you hiding? I don't even, because she was like, then the Reiki, then I just got this other certification, this, that, and whatever. And I said, I've been silently working, which is what I'm kind of calling it, is just, but doing it has led me here now, where I feel confident in this pivot, and there's like nothing else for me now, I'm all in over here,
Yeah. Well, and I want to reiterate what you said about this being a listening phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if every human on the planet could give themselves that time, that would be amazing. And in psychotherapy, what that looks like sometimes for people is inpatient or partial hospitalization or intensive outpatient. And they're sitting there thinking something's wrong with them, right? Like, I have to be medicated. I have to get a diagnosis. Like, I can't handle life. And like, no, that's not what's happening. And if we could just give people some level of permission, which they don't need it, but when you're talking to an ego, right? Like just what you said, like give yourself time to just listen. Like, first of all, you have to come down from the loudest voice in your head, which is the ego. And then when that's a little quiet, like, okay, so if I'm listening and watching and observant, like that takes time. And you can't just like go, oh, well, I better get another job,
Right.
And you really, like, I personally think it's a gift to me as well when somebody goes into this phase, because you are going to be more genuinely human. You are going to start soulganizing your life, and I will benefit. And I really, really, truly believe that. That's why we're talking now, is that I truly believe that if everybody did this on the planet, right, that we would live in a freaking utopia, because everyone would be like, oh, I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. That's why my soul brought me here, And so, in the last few minutes that we're talking, if someone wanted to reach out to you, even though you're in this listening phase and flux phase, you're ultimately hoping to transition into a Reiki healer, right? And a massage therapist. Mm-hmm. And do you have plans to have a way for people to find you? I know I found you on LinkedIn. Is there a particular person that you wish would reach out to you?
Well, one thing that I don't think I will ever shake from living in the recruitment world is the power of networking. Again, that's another podcast, because I am a true believer in people connection,
For sure.
Genuine people connection. So it's interesting when you say that, because I'm like, whoever you are, reach out to me. We can talk about whatever you want, I'm all about it. But yeah, I do have LinkedIn. I have an email address. I'll likely create another one once I transition to the Reiki and massage, but this one will always be active, because I do always see myself as a coach. I don't see that going away. Mm-hmm. So that's melissa.paul.coaching at gmail.com. And I'm happy to talk about career transitions. I'm happy to talk about spiritual awakenings. I'm happy to talk about Reiki, massage therapy. Like, I'm happy to talk about your cat, like your,
that evil
the weather, like, I love connecting with people. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
And your LinkedIn is not Missy Paul. It's something else.
It's Melissa (Missy Paul).
Okay.
So yeah.
And your last name on there is different. I found you under a different last name.
Did you now? Yeah. I thought I had transitioned that as well. Oh gosh, it's probably my maiden last name, which is horrifying. But you could probably, it's horrifyingly long and a little complicated. Okay. But it's Carignan, Carignan. And that might be the easier way to find me, because it's more unique. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we are going to have another podcast, and we will do a Where Is She Now to see this. And I hope that this is actually inspiring to people, because this is who the podcast is for, is literally people that are in what you called it, the flux space, that are like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore, but I have no idea what to do next. Right. And a lot of people on the podcast have been on their journey for a long time. So it's super fun to talk to you about yours, and, just your openness to be on somebody's podcast that you don't know?
I'm telling you, you know, if I was going to give anyone kind of entering into this space or influx, you know, where I am, it's just, even if you can give yourself 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day to sit there and meditate or just like be in your space. I know that's easier said than done, but it's almost kind of like working out, right? Like when you're trying to get in like a workout pattern of like, I'm going to go to the gym, and it's that, except you're working on yourself internally.
Yeah.
And that's as important.
More important.
I was just going to say, if not more important, dare I say that? Like, yeah. And so, yeah, I'm excited to reconnect and see where I'm at. And I think it's going to be very exciting. So again, I'm just really appreciative to have the opportunity to share my little story.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being here. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.